Larry Sharpe is running for governor of New York State on the Libertarian line, and he's on the line right now. Mr. Sharpe, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Did you know the answer to that question?
I did, actually.
Yeah.
I did.
It's kind of a well-known thing that Edison invented the Victrola.
But I actually first thought maybe was it Marconi, and then I went back to Edison.
Yeah, Marconi was the radio, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I got those confused for a second, but there we go.
All right, so you're running for governor as a libertarian. What would you do differently in New York State?
Oh, my God, there is so much. You got to give me an hour and a half to deal with this?
Well,
we might have to do it in installments.
Yeah, installments, yes.
All right, maybe installments. We have to change the actual state from a culture right now, which is that of punishment and bribery, which is don't do anything. If you do something, I'm going to punish you. And if we want you to do something, we're going to bribe you to do it. We're going to give you money to show up. We're going to bribe you to go to school. We're going to bribe you to stay into the actual state. And with all of that, people still keep leaving. We still have people running away from our state as fast as possible. We want to change it to an actual state of opportunity and chance. We want to make sure that people are able to pursue happiness in a state like we should be able to do. I mean, America was built on the pursuit of happiness, and New York State doesn't do that very well. We want to be able to make sure we're a culture of innovation, that we're a culture of open opportunity for people so that they want to stay here. I don't want to bribe people to stay here. I want them to want to stay, and I want them to want to come here. And a couple of things we can touch on, which is actually getting rid of our state income tax. If we can work on fixing Medicaid, if we can work on our pension bond, which is give or take 14% of our budget, we're talking almost $25 billion. If we can start repealing and actually selectively not enforcing a lot of the local regulations on some of the small businesses, we can actually remove the actual income tax. And if we do that, by default, everyone who's here will have given their employee a raise automatically.
Wow.
So make people want to come.
As a libertarian, you are certainly for less government, and
That's correct.
That is not New York State, right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
We are bigger and bigger and bigger when it comes to government. We have gone out of our way to say, we have a problem. You know who knows best? Albany.
Mm-hmm.
Who would possibly know better than Albany? Let's make sure that they can tell us what to do. But we have a second piece, which is actually worse. That's very special to New York State. And that is we go out of our way to create organizations that are not really run by the governor, but not really run by the legislature, but not really run by anybody. And all of a sudden, the concept is, hey, let's make these organizations so that they'll be fair. But what winds up happening is no one's in charge, and the buck stops nowhere. So I want to make sure that the buck always stops with someone.
All right.
This is why we have the MTA where no one can fix it, because no one knows who runs it. These things have to stop.
How would you be able to, I mean, the services, all of the things that are provided here in New York State, and they're all intertwined, and people have come to rely and really rely on these services. How would you get the people to give all of it up?
Yeah, well, the first thing is I don't want them to give all of it up. That's not realistic, right? We're not going to change New York State overnight. That's not going to happen. No matter how awesome I may think I am, we can't change New York State overnight.
Yeah.
So the answer is to slowly move into that culture I talked about. I really meant that when I said culture. I want to change the culture so that people realize we can still get all of the good things that we want.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be done through centralized control in Albany. It can be done locally. It can be done within hubs. It can be done where one state is very good. One county is good at this, and another town is good at that.
Okay.
And each can specialize. So we don't have to necessarily get rid of everything. What we have to do is allow more local control.
Understood.
Not with Albany controlling everything.
What would you do with school funding? Does it go down? Does it go up? What would you do?
School funding is a monster. I mean, it's the way it's put together. And the problem is the culture of school has to change also. So I'll touch two parts. The first thing is we don't want to just give more money to our schools. It isn't only about funding. It's about doing two things: freeing up our students after age 16 and freeing up our teachers immediately, which means freeing up school districts to decide how they want to take care of each and every school district. Again, it goes into selective enforcing. I would rather have schools that are already doing well keep all the rules and regulations that are working for them.
Okay.
Good for you. Don't stop. But if you're not, I want to give you the freedom to make changes. So once you begin to make changes, now we can decide how do we want to fund those changes. And it's a total change of how we fund everything, but more importantly, the culture of education shouldn't be about let's teach to a test so that when they're 18 they have a good test. It's let's teach to what the kids are good at so they can be successful as they and their parents see success.
Got it. Would you turn over, like, would you privatize things? Like, for instance, the plowing and the salting of the roads and the building of the bridges and the infrastructure. How does all that get done without money?
Absolutely. Wow. No money? Did I say no money?
Well, I'm only saying, you want to get rid of income tax. That'd be a blow.
Yeah, it would. Income tax is over $40 billion a year, absolutely. But you want to, of course, not just... When I talk about revenue enhancers, Cuomo means, when he says it, our current governor believes that means more taxes. Mm-hmm. When I say revenue enhancers, I mean things like, why aren't we creating what we call the One State Project? And that means, why aren't we creating an absolutely brand new Erie Canal? Why don't we connect whatever that new idea of an Erie Canal is? It goes from Buffalo to Rochester, Syracuse to Albany, down to New York, and getting people to want to come, which will raise our tax base without raising one single actual tax dollar.
Sure.
In other words, I'm not raising the tax rate, but we'll actually get more taxes into the government. But more than that, how about things like naming rights? The actual Erie Canal, has, 22, 23 actual locks? We're making something like $1 million or $2 million on the Erie Canal when it costs us $100 million to run it. Why aren't we selling naming rights to locks? Why aren't we selling naming rights to those on it? Why aren't we selling naming rights to bridges? All those things. They're amazing ideas.
Instead of calling it the Cuomo, the Governor Mario Cuomo Bridge, the Triborough might be called the Taco Bell Bridge or something like that.
Why wouldn't we call one of those bridges a Verizon bridge? How much money would Verizon pay to have people like you in the morning saying the traffic on the Verizon Bridge is good or bad?
I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah.
These people pay $3 or $4 billion a year in marketing. Why can't $100 million of that come into New York State from all of our bridges? Just in New York City, the MTA controls a dozen bridges.
Okay, I like it.
It's a totally outside-the-box idea. I do like it. I do think, though, at some point it would cause confusion. What's the name of the arena in Albany, right, that's been renamed like 6 times, and nobody knows what you're Nobody knows what you're talking about. That is an out-of-the-box idea.
I still go to the Knickerbocker.
And that's what it used to be.
It was in the beginning.
So, Larry, let me ask you, though. I think on your website, it talks about something going on today. These Maryland energy folks say they were shaken down by the governor. Talk about this. And is there legs for like a criminal prosecution on this?
Look, this is one thing I don't want to get involved in prosecution or punishment. It's not what I want to do. When you start getting involved in prosecution and punishment, the first thing that's happening is now we say, good, we got somebody, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Prosecution and punishment is a false way of thinking we've solved the problem. It's why our justice system is not a justice system, it's a punishment system. We think that if I put a guy in jail, now we have justice. That's not justice. Justice is actually making things change and making things better for the victim. So I'm not about focusing on that. I'm about focusing on let's get rid of the Empire State Development Corporation, period.
Okay.
Let's get rid of the Regional Economic Development Councils. These places, they are literally just farms for crony capitalism.
Well, one final question.
They are farms for cronyism.
One final question. You take, for instance, the hospital, downtown hospital in Utica. $300 million is coming to Utica in government money. If you got rid of Startup New York, the money that's going into Nano, would you remove that money, or would you carry through on what's already been promised?
Look, this becomes the hardest part for all of our mandates, is how do you find the answer, right? And the answer actually is renegotiating.
Okay.
That's renegotiating for the pension bomb that's destroying us. That's renegotiating for all of the deals that we've put in place already. You can't just tell someone, oh, you planned on it, sorry, goodbye.
All right. Well, one day we might meet at the Taco Bell downtown Utica Hospital. You never know. All right, Larry, very interesting. Let's do it again.
LarrySharpe.com. Sharpe with an E because E makes it special.
E makes it special. Gubernatorial candidate, New York State, Libertarian, and Larry, thank you so much.
Have a great morning.
Okay, you too. What do we think of Larry? I'll get your opinion in a second.
The corporate sponsorship idea.
I kind of think that's kind of a cool idea on the bridges, right? There's some money that can be made there.
But see,
more people travel the bridges than go to
the Mario Como, Tappan Zee, Verizon, AT&T.
But what I'm saying is imagine that for like if you get used to the Verizon bridge or the Verizon arterial for 10 years, and then you say there's an accident on the Capital One platform, you have no idea what I'm talking about. It's always going to be Verizon to you, you know? It'd have to be like a long-term thing.
Arenas change
You can't
names.
change bridge names and roadways every 10 years. People would get completely confused.
I love how Syracuse University gave the Carrier Dome. It's Carrier. The Carrier Dome is named after, which, by the way, doesn't have air conditioning, which is the craziest thing.
I know.
Named after Carrier. Because they paid for it. They paid for those rights, and it was a lifetime name, by the way. Until now, they're kind of Syracuse saying, well, they paid so little for it, we've kind of changed our mind. I think they're searching for a corporate sponsor. It wasn't.
It was a one-time fee. I think it was like $1 million or $2 million. It was less than $2 million total. Yeah.
Well, think about the Adirondack Bank Center.
But it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be lifetime, though. How do you renege on that? I don't understand.